If I may get your attention at this time, I'd like to call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session of Thursday, December the 17th, 2015. And at this time, I'm going to ask Pastor Francisco X.R. Artley of the New Hope United Methodist Church to come forward and open us with the invocation. Then after that, I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Larry Yockey to open us with the pledge. If we'll all stand at this time, please.
I'd like to read a scripture from Luke. It's in chapter 1. Now there were in the same country shepherds living out in the fields, keeping watch over their flock by night. And behold, an angel of the Lord stood before them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were greatly afraid. Then the angel said to them, Do not be afraid, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, for which will be to all people. For there is born to you this day in the city of David a Savior, who is Christ the Lord. And this will be the sign to you. You will find a babe wrapped in swaddling cloths, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with an angel multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men. I want to thank you for your service to our city, and I wish all of you peace during this holiday season. Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this blessed day. Lord, I thank you for those that have come tonight. And Lord, I ask that you be with those serving tonight here in the city of Douglasville, Lord, that you give them wisdom, strength, and that you give them guidance, Lord, in everything that they do and the decisions that they make tonight. And I just thank you for those. And I ask that you bless each and every one that is here. And we pray all of this in your Son's name, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and all of God's people said.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time I'd like to go over the protocol for tonight's meeting. Again, I'd like to welcome you to the City of Douglasville's Legislative Work Session. This is a work session where agenda items that are presented for discussion, or where agenda items are presented for discussion, and there will be no official action taken tonight. Official action will be taken on the items discussed tonight on Monday, December the 21st, 2015 at 6 p.m. If the business you are here to discuss is not listed as an agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates section to discuss your business. There are a few protocol items I need to make you aware of before we start this meeting. I will ask that you listen closely so there is no misunderstanding about how tonight's meeting will be conducted. I ask that you keep your comments and your presentation on a professional level, dealing with facts that are important for this governing body to make their decision. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You will receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from this requirement. The second deviation will result in a request for you to leave the chambers and the premises for the evening. Only one person will be talking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. Speak from the audience. Cheer, carry on a conversation with others in the audience, or disrupt the order of this meeting in any way. I will remind you that we are only required to accept public comment on zoning matters. We're not required to accept public comment on any other items before this council. We accept public comment on all items because we believe it enables us to make better decisions. But we will maintain order. As the chair of this meeting, at any time during this meeting, I'm prepared to stop public comment on any agenda item if I believe the general good of the meeting will not benefit from actions being taken by a member or members of the audience. If If you have a pager, cell phone, or other electronic device, I ask that you either power them off or put them in the silent mode at this time. Agenda items will be handled as follows. The committee chairperson will read the agenda item. Then the person representing the agenda item or the applicant will make his or her presentation first, and that will be the only opportunity for you to present information. Then the mayor and members of the council will possibly ask questions of the applicant or seek additional information. After that, the committee chair will ask for comments or statements from the audience. There is a maximum time limit of 30 minutes for those who speak in favor of the agenda item. The applicant's presentation is included in this time allotment. Those who speak in opposition to the item will also have 30 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. I ask that you fill out one of the sheets that were at the double doors that you came through entering this chamber. Then provide the sheet to the Madam Deputy Clerk to my right when you approach to speak. When you come to the podium, please provide your information form to the Madam Deputy Clerk. Tell her if you're speaking in favor of or against the project. State your name and address for the record, and then proceed with your comments. Each person has one opportunity to comment on each agenda item. No reappearances if you think of something later you forgot or did not say initially. This meeting is not a question and answer format. This meeting is not a debate format, but a format that gives you an opportunity to make public comment on the respective agenda item. Please address your comments to the chair, not to the members of the audience or the applicant or the city staff. If your information is repetitive of information presented earlier in this meeting or any other meetings on this matter, there is no need to present the same information again. If your information is repetitive, I will remind you, then request that you move on to any new information you're prepared to present. Our policy requires that printed information used for review be submitted in advance, included in each council member's work packet. Therefore, I ask that you do not pass out or distribute additional information to the council. This also includes the citizen comment period. Are there any questions about the protocol, or is there anyone that does not understand the protocol for tonight's meeting? Hearing none, next item on the agenda is the announcements and presentations form portion of the agenda. And this is a proclamation or presentation of a proclamation by me, Harvey Persons, Mayor, to keep Douglasville beautiful. The Executive Director, Chan Weeks, designating Saturday, January the 9th, 2016 is as Bring One for the Chipper in the city of Douglasville. Is Ms. Weeks? Mr. Roberts, you're going to come forward then and accept this proclamation once I read it? Very good. This proclamation reads, Bring One for the Chipper Day. Whereas recycling reduces the waste stream, thus saving tax dollars and improving our environment, and whereas Douglasville is committed to reducing the waste stream and thus helping the state of Georgia reach a per capita waste disposal reduction goal, and whereas the Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation, the Home Depot, the Davy Tree Expert Company, Georgia Forestry Commission, and WXIA 11 Alive Television are sponsoring the 25th year of the Bring One for the Chipper Christmas Tree Recycling Program. And whereas this program promotes the recycling of Christmas trees into usable mulch material and provides City of Douglas city residents easy access to drop-off sites. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Harvey Persons, do hereby proclaim Saturday, January the 9th, 2016, as Bring One for the Chipper Day in Douglasville. So proclaimed this 17th day of December, 2015. Mr. Roberts, you have comments to make.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the proclamation.
Name and address, just for the audio.
City of
please.
Douglasville Maintenance and Sanitation Department, 8578 Club Drive, Douglasville, 30134. As you've mentioned, this event will be on Saturday, January 9th, 2016. This is only for live trees, not artificial trees. If you'll call us, we will help you with your artificial tree, but please don't take them to the Home Depot. This event will happen at the Home Depot at 7399 Douglas Boulevard, Douglasville, and most of us know that's off of Highway 5. Zip code is 30135. And the event will be held 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on that Saturday. And Home Depot has been gracious for well over a decade now to cooperate with us. The role that the city has is that we handle the collection of the trees and we mulch them. And Home Depot, it is just, I can't put a value on their assistance with this because they dedicate an area of their property on what I'll describe as the northeast corner of their parking facility. And you can bring these trees during the week leading up to this event, and they will designate an area to put them. For City of Douglasville residents, if you'll call us at 770-920-3005 or email us at sanitation@douglasvillega.gov. That's sanitation@douglasvillega.gov.
Excuse me.
We will deliver you some mulch to your home. And we've been doing that for years. We don't get a huge amount of requests for it, but if you want some mulched up Christmas trees for an area, we've got several residents that use it in gardening type areas off their home property. And so we'll make it real convenient for you to get some of this mulch. And that's pretty much all I have. Just a reminder, no artificial trees, just real trees. If you have an artificial tree you want us to come get, call us at that same information and we'll even take care of that for you. The chipper doesn't like the artificial trees.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Mr. Roberts. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the Public Safety Committee. And in the absence of the chairman of that committee, Councilman Davis, I'm going to ask the vice chairman, Councilman Adams, if you'll bring your committee forward this time, please, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under Public Safety, we have two items tonight. The first is a request for change in agent outlet manager for the alcoholic beverages licenses for the sale and consumption of wine and malt beverages and spirituous liquor at the following establishment. The licensee is O'Charlie's LLC, doing business as O'Charlie's number 291, located at 9320 The Landing Drive. Current agent outlet manager Laura Glowacki. Proposed agent outlet manager Kevin Musick. The required investigation has been conducted and the required fees have been paid into the City Finance Department. Is there a representative for O'Charlie's here? Come to the podium if you would, sir, and state your name and address for the record.
Kevin Musick, 4716 Fountainwood Drive, Powder Springs, Georgia, 30127.
Thank you very much, Mr. Musick. And you are the proposed agent outlet manager. You would assume the responsibilities then of the sale and supervision for the sale of beer, wine, and spirituous liquor. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Can you explain to the council and mayor the process by which you would approve or you would either agree to or deny the sale of alcoholic beverages to a customer, please?
Well, yeah, actually, I mean, I've got, every server bartender is required to, I brought a book basically stating everything that goes in this. This is part of their training. Anything from alcohol laws, liability and responsibility, to O'Charlie's alcohol policies, identification and carding each individual, understanding alcohol and behavior, certain intoxication percents, responsible serving practices, and then it goes into suspending alcohol service, how to handle an alcohol-related situation, different state liquor serving requirements. Each bartender and servers required to take a test at the end of this, basically going over all of this information. Each bartender is required to take the Serve Safe Responsible Alcohol online exam, and every server and bartender is required to have a Douglas County alcohol permit.
Okay, is there a POS system in place with O'Charlie's that would prompt the identification process of someone requesting service?
There's no really POS. I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Point of sale, in other words, when you try to key in alcoholic sales, is there a prompt that would remind you to ID them?
No.
Okay.
No, there's not. When you ring it in, we do have the sign in the bar saying the date that person would be legal. O'Charlie's IDs anybody that looks 40 years old or under.
Curious.
So as far as the POS system, no.
Okay. Questions from council? Comments?
I do have a question. So you say is it left up to the discretion of the server to determine if the individual may be 40 or under? Or is that a
Yes.
mandatory that you ID everyone?
It's really left up to the server. I mean, us personally, we pretty much, that's O'Charlie's as 40 and under. We, for the most part, ID everybody. Does that make sense? So we err on the side of caution.
I mean, do you ID everyone, or do you ID based on the discretion of the server, anybody that looks 40 and under?
Based on the discretion of the server.
Okay.
And if the server, if there is any discretion, the server would ultimately leave that up to the manager on duty.
Okay, and you do understand that a license to serve alcoholic beverages is a privilege, not a right, and certainly one of the things that this city is very concerned about is not serving underage
Absolutely.
drinkers.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, that's all I have,
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
If not, Mr. Music, if you'll come back on Monday night, we will vote on this item.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Next item, request for the change in agent outlet manager for the alcoholic beverages licenses for the sale and consumption of wine, malt beverages, and spirituous liquor at the following establishment. The licensee is HOA Restaurant Holder LLC, doing business as Hooters of Douglasville. The location is 6855 Douglas Boulevard. Current agent outlet manager is Catherine Meredith. Proposed agent outlet manager Michelle Austin. The required investigation has been conducted and the required fees have been paid into the city finance department. I am assuming that you are Miss Michelle Austin.
Yes, my name is Michelle Austin. I live at 4722 Yeager Road, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135.
Thank you. And you, ma'am?
Dana Eisenstein, Sard and Leff Attorneys, 3789 Roswell Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30342.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Ms. Austin, can you tell us a little bit about the process which you would go under in the sale of spirituous liquor, wine, or beer at the Hooters location? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, before we even do an employee's or server and host's orientation, they have to complete the Serve Safe Alcohol, which is the 4-hour online course where they learn about all of the laws and especially the things that they need to make sure that they are doing check-in IDs, ones that are valid, not valid, acceptable, not acceptable, especially things for underage. We ID everyone. There is no exception, even the older people that get angry, and if it gets that far, then they get a manager involved, and then it is manager's discretion. The server is never allowed to make the call if someone does not have the ID.
Okay. Thank you. Questions from council? No comments? Okay. Thank you for coming. If you'll come back on Monday night, we'll make a decision on this item. Thank you very much. That's all that we have under public safety, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Councilman Adams. Next item on the agenda is Community and Economic Development, and I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councilman Adams, if you bring your committee forward this time, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Community and Economic Development, we have 4 items tonight. The first is adopt an ordinance enacting Section 50-43 of the Human Relations Ordinance to add provisions requiring publication of the city's fair housing regulations in connection with administration of the local community development block grant project, and repealing Sections 26-281 and 26-282, the Minority/Women's Business Enterprise Outreach Plan of the Business Ordinance.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Jonathan Land, Community and Development Services Director, 6695 Church Street, Douglasville, 30134. What you have before you is also on your committee agenda for Monday night for discussion. But we are in the process, and you'll see on your agenda tonight, of adopting a set of policies and procedures for management of our CDBG grant, just in terms of how we handle contractors, how we handle the fair housing policies, how we manage payments, homeowners selecting contractors, and that sort of thing. Upon review of the policies and procedures, City Attorney Ms. Littlefield determined that one section would be in conflict of how we would manage our rehabilitation and reconstruction grant that we have going. And that was only done based upon our last grant and how that was handled, but that was a completely different kind of CDBG grant. That was more of a public facility. So just in terms of making sure we are not conflicting with our own ordinances, that's why you have this before you tonight, is to update our fair housing policy and to repeal that one section.
So it's just a change in the way that we must manage the community development block grant project is a reason for change in the ordinance?
Absolutely. That's the only reason.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any question or comment from council? Public comment? Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you.
If it's possible, I'd like to place that on the consent agenda for Monday night.
Council's pleasure. Appears to be in order.
Thank you. Item B, authorize the mayor to sign a one-year service agreement with the Douglas County Continuum of Care Coalition Incorporated for indigent care and housing services at a cost of $5,000. Hampton.
Councilman Adams, you met with, or I should say received the presentation from Mr. Charlie Branson representing United Way, and he detailed some of his efforts that they would like to partner with the city on dealing with some of our homeless population. We did this agreement last year, and this would be an agreement for calendar year 2016 in order to help support those efforts. And our county government does this as well as some other faith-based organizations who also chip in to help in these efforts.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments of council concerning this item? Public comment? Could I also ask that this be placed on the consent agenda for Monday night?
Council's pleasure. Appears to be in order.
Thank you. Item C, adopt a resolution appointing several individuals to serve two-year terms on the Convention and Visitors Advisory Board. Ms. Hampton.
You guys interviewed a slate of candidates who were currently serving on your Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board. Their terms end at the end of this calendar year. This resolution would start new terms for them in 2 years if you are in agreement that that group of candidates are to continue to serve for 2 more years on your Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board.
Thank you. Yes, we have had those interviews. Is there anyone that had a question or comment on council concerning that? Public comment? I'd like to have this on the consent agenda if possible, please.
Council's pleasure. Appears to be in order.
Thank you. One other item. Adopt a resolution to approve a set of policies and procedures for administration of the city's Community Development Block Grant Program. Mr. Lynn, the other half of the equation.
Yes, sir. This is, as we just discussed, these are the exact policies and procedures that we would adopt for the administration of the CDBG grant. These are ones that were provided to the city by our consultant, Carol Southard. City Attorney Ms. Littlefield has reviewed them, made her comments, and this is our revised version that we have gotten back. These are pretty well accepted throughout the state. We don't like to brag, but our consultant she kind of developed these, and they're pretty much used throughout the state for these kind of projects. This template goes through everything from eligibility requirements to how the homeowner selects contractors, or if we need to rule a contractor ineligible on behalf of the homeowner, that sort of thing, and just how we manage it and make sure everything's compliant with lead-based paint standards, historical preservation, and such as that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lynn. Ms. Littlefield, would you need to add anything to that? Is there anything? Okay. Any comment or question from council? Public comment? Thank you, Mr. Lynn.
Thank you.
Could I request that that be placed on the consent agenda also, please?
Council's pleasure. Appears to be in order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. That's all that we have under Community and Economic Development.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Councilman Adams. Next item on the agenda is Plan and Development Committee. I ask Chair of that committee, Councilman Pope, if you bring your committee forward this time, please, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We have 7 items tonight. A request for change in zoning from R4 single-family detached and attached townhouses and apartment residential district to R4 single-family detached and attached townhouse and apartment residential district with a special land use permit for a church or place of worship and accessory uses to a church or place of worship with special stipulation to be used only as a church or a place of worship, and advisories use this church or place of worship on approximately 0.33 acres at the southwest corner of Forest Avenue and Elm Street, located in Land Lot 17, District 1, Section 5A, Parcel 45. Yes, Ms. Littlefield.
Mr. Chairman, this is a city-owned lot that you referred for rezoning about 6 weeks ago, and we discussed in committee. The lot is being made ready for bidding for sale, and this is the restriction you wish to see before it's sold.
This is the lot located next to the church now.
There is a church nearby, yes.
Thank you. Anybody wish to speak for this item? Does anybody wish to speak against this item? Okay, we'll vote on this on Monday. Next is request for change in zoning, CBD, Central Business District to CBD, Central Business District with a special stipulation to be used only for parking on 0.06 acres at 6640 Church Street, located in Land Lot 17, District 1, Parcel 5A, Parcel 40. And this is the lot next to the old medicine shop?
Yes, sir, it is, and it's on your agenda tonight for the same reason as the prior item.
Does anybody wish to speak for this item in the audience? Does anybody in the audience wish to speak against it? All right, and we'll vote on that on Monday. Next item, request for change in zoning from IL Light Industrial to IL Light Industrial with a special land use permit for a church or place of worship on 1.94 acres at 1445 Municipal Parkway in Land Lot 735, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 8. And the application is made by Fully Rely on God Christian Ministry. Are they? Oh, she is here. Right, I didn't see you there. Wasn't looking. Could you tell us what you want to do?
But this is actually a request for renewal.
Excuse me. Let me get your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Meredith B. Farrell, 4124 High Country Drive, Douglasville, Georgia, 30135.
Spell that last name.
F as in Frank, U-R-E-L, Farrell.
Thank you. Go ahead, please.
This is a this is actually a renewal, request for renewal. We've been at the location for about 5 years, and we were here 2 years ago, and we were actually given permission, and so it's a renewal. We're right off of Highway 78, and it's we've been there for a while, so people know us there. We do have community outreach. We're planning, we had one last year, and we're planning another for 2016. We do health screenings on that day. On that particular day, we do health screenings. We give away school supplies. We give lunch, free lunch, and all of this is free to the community. We have Sunday service, Sunday school, as well as Sunday worship service.
Very nice. So you got it last time for 2 years?
Yes.
Okay, so it's another renewal. Does anybody wish, any comments from the council?
The only thing I would say is we should note if we're going to, this is going to be for 2 years also?
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be on there Monday when we vote on it. Any questions or anybody in the audience wish to speak for it, for this item? Does anybody wish to speak against it? Being there's nobody there, you come back on Monday, we'll vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next item is request for changes in zoning from R2 Single Family Residential District with a special land use permit to R2 Single Family Residential District with a special land use permit for a church or accessory building on 29.04 acres at 6930 West Forest Avenue in Land Lot 224, District 2, Section 5, Parcel 14. He's here.
Good evening. My name is Herbert Humphrey, and my address is 8491 Hospital Drive, number 101, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. I'm here on behalf of the Golden Memorial United Methodist Church, who is proposing a 16,000 square foot social service center that would include administrative offices, a gymnasium, and provide to support their ministry activity and youth activities. The operation will be consistent with typical church operating hours for youth activities and things of that nature. And currently, the main sanctuary is on the property. If you have your site plan, do you have your site plan? You'll see the building will be located behind the existing sanctuary, which is a two-story building where they have the main sanctuary, but this will be a social service center for other activities and programs that they are proposing.
Okay. Council got any comments? Is there anybody in the audience that also wishes to speak for this item? Yes, sir. Come on up. State your name and address for the record.
My name is James Coleman. I live at 149 Camden Knoll, Dallas, Georgia, 30157. I'm also the co-chairperson of the Long Range Planning Committee for Golden Memorial United Methodist Church. To expand on what he said, the gym we're trying to build is for our church because we are growing. We're trying to do like outreach for kids, do a upper bound basketball team and tournaments. Also to allow the church members to have a place for daycare and after-school programs for their children. It's under the leadership of Dr. Gregory Williams, who is our pastor. When he got to the church, he decided to try to expand the church, and now that we are growing, we feel that the current situation we have as far as after-school programs and allowing stuff for the kids to do is not efficient. So we started planning for this building in 2010, and we're now getting to the point now where we got plans together, and we're trying to get all the other stuff together so we can apply for permitting to build the building.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to speak for it? Does anybody wish to speak against it? Being none, you come back on Monday, we'll vote on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is request for an annex approximately 30.782 acres located off Preston Boulevard and Blairsbridge Road, being a land lot 677, District 18, Section 2, parcels 1, 7, 8, and 9. Application by Landmark LLC, Landmark West LLC, and B, land lot 616, District 18, Section 2, application by Dickwell Limited Partnership. And who's going to represent this group? Come on up. State your name and address for the record, please.
I'm George Reed, 3515 Paces Ferry Circle, Smyrna, Georgia, 30080. I think the next two items also relate to this because it all pertains to the requested rezoning, so I don't know if you would like for me just to address all of these items at the same time.
Yeah, I have to read the rest of this when you get finished. Go ahead.
Of course, the first item has to do with the requested annexation, and it's simply the requested that it be annexed, so this parcel, total of 46 acres, there's 30-plus acres that are in the county. There are about 16 acres that are already in the city. And it really, for development purposes, we think needs to be consolidated into one parcel and annexed by the city. And I should note that the Board of County Commissioners does not oppose the annexation. With respect to the rezoning, in a minute, I'd like to introduce Jay Mitchell, who is with IDI, the proposed developer. But before I do that, there are just a few things I'd like to say to the council and the mayor about the development itself. First of all, I've represented Steve Weatherby, who is one of the primary sellers of this property for quite a number of years, and I'm familiar with this property. And we're very glad, frankly, to have an opportunity to present the development by IDI. As many of you know, IDI is a very major industrial developer in not only Georgia but around the southeast. They have quite a number of properties in the county already. They may have some properties. Mr. Mitchell can address whether they have some properties already in the city, but they're a major developer. One of the good things about them is that they have a track record of developing very high-quality properties and bringing in very high-quality tenants like Google, Procter & Gamble, Austin Bird Law Firm. I mean, very good tenants with good, high-paying jobs. And so that's one of the things that we hope will be attractive to the city about this particular project. I would also like to point out that this property has been in the county's community improvement district for a long time. The part that's in the city has been subject to the quality development corridor. All of this property intended by both the community improvement district as well as the quality development corridor to be business-related development. That's what it's there for, and these landowners out there, including this particular property, have paid taxes for a long time, assessment, extra taxes, to fund the infrastructure development to support this type of business development. This property was owned the way it is currently, I think, because years ago there was a possibility that there would be perhaps a hotel and convention center located there. As we all know, that did not come to fruition, but I think, quite frankly, that's the only reason this property is zoned as it's currently zoned. If you look around the property, there's quite a bit of light industrial contiguous and in this area already. So I think if it's zoned for industrial use, it'll be very consistent with what is already in the neighborhood. Another point I want to make, because I know wouldn't it be nice to have some other type of commercial development or office development? I want you to know this property has been marketed for 20 plus years, and it doesn't work. It has not been saleable. It's not been marketable as an office or other commercial. It's really because of what's around it, the nature of the property. This is what fits best with this particular site. Final point I want to make, and then I want to introduce Jay Mitchell from IDI, is, as you may know, one of the things that the owners have offered, if you desire, is there's a 2+ acre site across the street that would be available to be donated for a police precinct if the city decided now or sometime in the future that it would like that. So that's an additional point I would like to make. At this point, if it's okay, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mitchell from IDI and let him speak with you about the particulars of the development and answer any questions you have about the specifics, if that would be acceptable.
Yeah, just a minute. Ms. Littlefield, should I read all the other two also and then let them discuss it? Okay. Just hang on a minute. I got a little housekeeping to take care of. The next item is request an amendment to the City of Douglasville future land use plan for workplace center on a county to Regional Activity Center City on approximately 30.782 acres located on Blairsbridge Road, Preston Boulevard, located in land lot 677, District 18, Section 2, parcels 1, 7, 8, and 9, located in land lot 616, District 18, Section 2, parcel 5. And the next item requests a change in zoning from OIL, low density office institutional county, to approximately 30.782 acres in CG General Commercial City for approximately 10.386 acres and OI Office Institutional City for approximately 4.82 acres to IL Light Industrial City on 5.98 acres between Douglasville Road and Preston Boulevard, located in land lot 616, District 18, Section 2, Parcel 3 and 5, and lot 677, District 18, Parcel 2, Section 2, Parcels 1, 3, 7, 8, and 9. Now you can discuss the whole thing.
Okay. Thank you. If it would be appropriate, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mitchell to talk
Yes, you can.
specifically. Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jay Mitchell. I live at 420 Cameron Valley Court, Northwest in Atlanta, 30328. And I thought tonight I'd spend just a couple of seconds telling you about our company and our involvement out here, and then the rest of the time about this property in particular. But IDI, and we're now known as IDI Gaisley. The Gaisley part is our new sister company over in Europe. But IDI has been in business in Atlanta for 25 years. We're founded here, we're headquartered here, and over those 25 years, we built about 175 million square feet of warehouse buildings across the country, very, very similar to what we're proposing here tonight. In Atlanta in particular, in those 25 years, we've built just over 21 million square feet, and then more specifically in your county and city, in your community, we've built 80 buildings out here that encompass about 5.5 million square feet. In that square footage, if you just go off a typical square footage to employee ratio, those buildings that we have built, whether we own them or if we've sold them, like in the case of Google, we built that building and they now own it, represent about 2,700 employees in the community, and about $2.5 million in annual taxes. And, you know, why are we here today? We're here today because we're believers in what y'all have been telling us and been telling your community, which, you know, you're here to be a live, work, play community. Our customers are here for several reasons, and the number one reason is that. The other reasons are great access to I-20, great access to the city of Atlanta and to the airport. But even with that access, as you can see in other areas of the city, maybe just south of town, has all those same things too, but it doesn't have the community that you guys have. All our customers are here because of the folks that work for them, that work for those companies. So that's why they're here. They love it here, and we love it here as well. This particular site is been described. I just want to show you this real quick to orient you just a little bit. I'm sure it's in your package. But this is I-20, and this is Thornton Road. The buildings that we have built in the beginning, we have got about half of that 5.5 million square feet right up here in West Fork, which is the area right behind Chick-fil-A off of Thornton Road. The balance of those buildings, another 10 buildings, are south of I-20 down to the river. And some of those tenants that they've mentioned, Colgate, Austinburg, Google, those kind of folks are the kind of buildings the kind of customers these buildings attract. This site is right here, 45 acres. Of the 45 acres, 3/4 of that acreage is already zoned for low-density office, and 1/4 of the acreage is zoned for commercial. This is the site. Here are the apartments that are right behind it in residential, right here. And again, the interstate, Blair's Bridge Road runs on one side of it, and Preston Boulevard up the other side. And I'll show you what we have planned that also I'm sure is in your package, but here's the building. So here's Blair's Bridge Road, and here's Preston Boulevard. The building's 470,400 square feet. We designed it to use the roads that are there and the curb cuts that are there. Of course, Preston Boulevard is a 4-lane divided nice parkway, and we have one entrance off of that, and then we have our other entrance off Blair's Bridge Road. Frankly, in the beginning, we thought we would have this building so that both entrances were off Preston Boulevard, but several things prohibit that. One is the surrounding area does not want all those trucks and cars on one road, and also the topography there is very steep, so it doesn't really lend itself to that anyway. but it does work where we can have an entrance on this side. If we looked at this with our engineer, who is here tonight, if you have any specific questions, but we looked at the site just in the case of what if you were to build low-density office there. Low-density office, by y'all's definition, is one-story office, surface parking. If we did that, we could put 3 buildings on that site that add up to about 280,000 feet. With your zoning ordinance, that would be about 1,100 cars. Our traffic engineer looked at this, and with that size, the typical use from an auto perspective on a daily basis is just under 300 cars a day, so substantially less than the cars for the office. Of course, the office would not have maybe one tractor trailer for the trash, but would not have tractor trailer trucks. So how many do they predict for this? They predict about 100 tractor trailers a day. You know, could be more, could be substantially less. One of our tenants right down the street, ResMed, has 460,000 feet and they use about 10. But it could be some more than what they predict. So how do we handle it if it's more? We have the road that circles our building that's off the street. In addition to that, we have about 120 spots for tractor trailers along the building, an additional 100 out here. So we could double the predicted amount of use if that's what happened, and all those trucks would be off the roads and within the park. So, you know, and we've addressed, I know when I was here about a week or so ago, some comments came up about water quality and that sort of thing. We've addressed all those, and we can assure you that when we leave the site, it will be much greater water quality than it is today. And we also have the engineer that can address that for you as well. So that's what we are looking to do, is change the zoning from, you know, mostly low-density office and some commercial to a light industrial use, build this exact building. And we have buildings down the street you can look at. Hopefully y'all have seen some of those. And we don't have a tenant in mind for that building or one that's looking at that building now, of course, because it's not zoned and we don't own it. But you can see by the tenant profile that we typically attract that type of tenant will be attracted to this building. The other thing to mention is this building can be split into 2 units very easily. So the 470,000 feet, we might find someone that wants the entire thing. It's probably more likely that we find 2 folks that want to occupy in that building, which is more typical case as you see our buildings up and down the street. So that wraps up our presentation, and any questions you might have, myself or some of our consultants hopefully can answer for you.
Any questions from the council? Anybody in the audience wish to speak in favor of this proposal? Anybody in the audience wish to speak against it? One at a time. Come up, state your name and address for the record. And Ms. Tolliver, will you keep time?
Hold on just a second. You got individual and collective time you'll be keeping? Okay, very good.
Yes, ma'am. Name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Luz Ortiz, and I live at 1655 Brandmere Lane, Lithia Springs, Georgia, 30122. I live in the Sweetwater subdivision, which consists of 250 homes in Lithia Springs, and this subdivision sits right next door to where they want to build this 470,000 square foot distribution warehouse. I and the residents of Sweetwater subdivision oppose this monstrosity being built next to our subdivision for the following reasons. The only entranceway or exit to our subdivision is through Preston Boulevard, and this is one of the proposed entrances and exits that they want for this distribution warehouse. I can't imagine 100, 200, 300 trucks entering and exiting out of Preston Boulevard onto Bob Arnold Boulevard, and then going either to South Blair's Bridge Road or Thornton Boulevard. This would create a huge backup on a daily basis in the morning when we're trying to get to work, and then when we're trying to get home, entering into our subdivision. Secondly, Blair's Bridge Road gets backed up during the morning hours and in the evening. There is a Werner Trucks company that is located on Blair's Bridge Road, and a lot of those trucks, they go through Blair's Bridge Road, they'll cut through Bob Arnold Boulevard to get to Thornton Road. So that creates a backup as well in the morning. And I can't imagine all these trucks coming in from the warehouse exiting out of Preston Boulevard. It'll create a backup not only in Preston Boulevard, so we won't even be able to get out of our subdivision. And I failed to mention that it's not just Sweetwater residents that live there. There's also a apartment complex that sits there, and so all the people that live in this apartment complex also have to use Preston Boulevard to exit out. And so that I can't understand why they would want to build this warehouse in that location, because it's not going to be convenient for anyone, not the trucks and not us. So it's really not the best location for this warehouse. I'm sure that there are other locations that have already been zoned for light industrial use that would be a better suited for this type of industrial development that they want to do. Also, we don't know who the tenant's going to be. We don't know what kind of industrial development is going to take place there. We don't know if they're going to have, if we're going to be subjected to noise, any kind of types of fumes that may be manufactured in this industrial development. So with all these unknowns, we don't know how this is going to adversely impact our livelihood. And also with all this traffic that's going to be created by this industrial development and this warehouse and all these trucks going in and out, no one's going to want to live there. People are not going to, they're going to move out of the apartment complex, and then our livelihood is going to be impacted because our property values are going to go down. Our property values have already been impacted by the slum designation in that area, and they have slowly been creeping up, but not consistent with the rest of Atlanta and how the property values in different areas like Cobb County, Marietta, Buckhead, et cetera, have increased. So, you know, my concern is that my property values will plummet. I won't even be able to sell the house, and I'll have to walk away owing the money on my house because I can't do anything with it. I can't live there because of the noise that I'll be subjected to. And it's not just me, it's all the people that live in our community, all the people that live in the apartment complex. Why not decide to build something that will benefit the people that live there already? Why not build something that will benefit the residential neighborhood that surrounds that area? Why keep building industrial warehouses when you have people that actually live there and can benefit from, you know, an office complex or maybe some eateries or maybe some retail? Why not do that instead of doing more industrial development that is not going to attract more people that want to live in this community? And so I really ask that you think about opposing this rezoning and annexation because it's going to destroy our neighborhood. And I thank you for your time.
Very good. Give me your name and address again, please, ma'am.
Sure. It's Luz, L-U-Z, first name, O-R-T-I-Z, last name.
O-R-T-I-Z.
Correct.
And your address?
1655 Bradmere Lane, B-R-A-D-M-E-R-E, Lane, and that's in Lithia Springs, 30122.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz.
Thank you.
Next, name and address for the record, Mr. Shepard.
Good afternoon, Mayor Parsons, Mayor Pro Tem. My name is Mike Shepard. live at 1668 Bradmere Lane, Lithia Springs. I currently serve as a Sweetwater HOA president, and I'm here to oppose this development by IDI. Not to rehash what my neighbor said, Ms. Ortiz, but the decreased property values is our major concern. There comes a point of diminishing returns that, the residential people need to have a say-so in what goes on in their neighborhood. I've lived at Sweetwater for 11 and a half years. In that time, I paid about $20,000 in property taxes. So, we talk about the CID. I hope my property taxes are being used for the greater good of not only Douglasville, but Douglas County. Thornton Road, as I see it, is the gateway to Douglas County and Douglasville. We don't need to drive it in the ground with putting these large trucking facilities at that exit. We know trucking, look at Fulton Industrial. It brings a certain element there that we don't need to be associated with Douglasville or Douglas County. There are so many other things that could be, and we see it all the time on the news. You hear about cities like Snellville, Roswell. They'll go in and build these Avalons that are the true live, work, and play facilities. I shouldn't have to come home after a long day of work and have to say, where am I going to eat tonight, and have to drive to Hiram or down to Camp Creek because I live in Douglasville. I should be able to go and eat, have a good time, spend my money in the city and the county where I want to be a long-term resident. But when you start building this type of establishment, you're not going to draw the type of people who want to be residents there. They will live somewhere else, they will work somewhere else, they will play somewhere else. So with that being said, we got several people from my subdivision and from the tributary subdivision in the audience tonight. They're here in opposition as well. So let's just take that into consideration and let's vote wisely and let's do what's great for Douglasville. Thank you. Y'all have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd.
Next. The next person speaking against it. Yes, sir. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, hi. My name is James Uranga. That's spelled U-R-A-N-G-A.
One more time.
U-R-A-N-G-A.
Thank you.
And I live at 7765 Parkside Drive, Lithia Springs, Georgia. And I live in the Sweetwater subdivision off of Preston Boulevard. And if it's okay, I'd like to read a statement that I wrote. First off, I should mention, I just came from the eye doctor and he gave me 3 shots in the eyes, so I'm having a little bit of a problem saying, but I want to try and read this statement if that's okay.
You take your time.
I live in Sweetwater subdivision at the end of Preston Boulevard, and next door to us is the entrance to Sweetwater Creek Apartments. There are 250 homes in our subdivision and 240 apartments at the Sweetwater Creek Apartments, and all of the residents use Preston Boulevard as our only entrance and exit. The developers of the proposed distribution center plan to add 100 more semi-trucks to our same street as access to their facility. In studies done on distribution centers, the peak periods are between 8 to 10 in the morning and between 4 and 6 in the afternoon, and that happens to be the same time that residents either go to work or come home. So if you can imagine 100 trucks trying to come in and go out, and at the same time there's 250 residents from our subdivision trying to come in and go home, and the same thing with the 240 apartment residents. The developers and the Planning and Zoning Board have failed, in my opinion, to address all the traffic jams, pollution, and noise, and especially the truck fumes of the idling trucks at this distribution center. And also, did the Planning and Zoning Board take into consideration that there's going to be approximately 1 truck every 6 minutes trying to go down Preston Boulevard, trying to get to their facility? This area was zoned residential, so Ryland Homes could build that subdivision. The Planning and Zoning Board feels that this area should never have been intended as residential, and is now totally disregarding the negative effects that will have on residents and businesses in this part of Douglasville. I feel we are being penalized now because we purchased a home here. This type of industry needs to be located with similar facilities and away from areas already established with homes, apartments, colleges, and other businesses unrelated to distribution centers. Although a distribution center here would definitely impact our homes' values and probably increase the vacancy rates at Sweetwater Creek Apartments. And in my opinion, who would want to live on the same street where you have 100 trucks coming and going and the diesel fumes of the idling trucks? It would also have a negative impact on Mercer University students, which is just across the street from this facility, and clients at the medical center, all trying to avoid these semi-trucks. It's also a fact that there's going to be 100 trucks per day maneuvering from Thornton Road to Blairsbridge Road to Bob Arnold Boulevard, and also trying to use Preston Boulevard, all trying to get to and from their facility, all using small 2-lane roads. Have you taken into consideration what the effect will be on existing intersection capacity and also the level of service in this area? If you feel rezoning this property is for the best interest for this area, at least rezone it for something other than a major distribution center and for a facility that will have minimal impact on the entire surrounding community. I urge you to please make the right decision and deny this petition. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, if there is somebody else, I can't see over the podium. Is there anybody else wish to speak against it? Come on up, don't be bashful. Did you fill out a form, sir? I did not. You need to fill it out.
Before I speak or after?
Before.
I know, is anybody else wish to speak against it that has filled out a form? Or even hasn't filled out a form, you need to fill one out.
If there is anyone else that does wish to speak, we would ask that you would please fill out the form to save time on the time allocated for you to be able to speak.
Okay, come up now and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Anthony Robinson. I live at 7631 Forest Glen Way, Lithia Springs, Georgia. I'm here to oppose this building with IDI. I'm familiar with IDI. I'm going to speak a little bit different from some of my other neighbors who came up and spoke previously. The subdivision that we live in, when you come off of Thornton Road, it's exit 44. There's a Walmart there. It's been there for some years. There's a Toyota dealership right there on Blair's Bridge. Across from Blair's Bridge, there was a Chrysler dealership. It's been kind of done with for some years through the industry and the crisis that we had back in 2008, went out of business. There's another Dodge dealership that took over that piece right there. There's a Hampton Inn and Suites. So there are a lot of businesses right there in that area. And it does make sense. However, when you come into Preston Landing, into that subdivision, there's only one way in and there's only one way out. On numerous occasions, to give you an example, trucks come through there because you do have the Werner that's on Blair's Bridge, and they support Staples Distribution Center that is also down the road in the mornings. So I work in Alpharetta. I wish I could work in Douglasville and Douglas County, but I have to drive to Alpharetta every single morning. I purchased and built that home in 2005. I came from another state. I came down here, and I chose that location simply because of what's in back of me. What's in back of my home is Sweetwater State Park. That's the reason why I purchased my home here. I had numerous, offers to move somewhere else and build my home somewhere else. I chose that location because to me it was pretty pristine. When I leave my home in the mornings now to go to my office in Alpharetta, which I've been there for 10 years, going up to Alpharetta every single morning, I can see that traffic has increased over the years, which makes sense, and I see people moving to Douglas County, which is a great thing. However, to get out of my subdivision, I don't have any traffic. But as I'll probably say the past 4.5 to 5 years, just on Blair's Bridge Road, it takes me 9 minutes in the morning just to get on Thornton Road. No matter if I go and make the left at the light to get on I-20, which I don't go anymore because of the enormous amount of traffic just to get from exit 44 to Six Flags, it takes me almost 15 to 20 minutes just to get there, one exit. So what I do in the mornings, ladies and gentlemen, I actually make the left past, there's a FedEx right there. FedEx isn't an issue. Their trucks aren't an issue. They're not large trucks transportation-wise or whatever like that. When I'm trying to get on Thornton Road, I sit at the stop sign for about 7 minutes every morning, that one stop sign, every single morning, because of all the cars that's coming up Thornton Road off of I-20, that one small corridor. So what I do now, I go all the way around just to get on I-20, and I take the back way to Six Flags just to get on to I-20 because I cannot get on I-20 and spend 15 to 20 minutes just to go one exit. I used to cut down Douglas Boulevard right off of Thornton Road, but they're building something else there, as you all may know. I think that's where Google's building their site. That's been closed for weeks, so it adds to my commute. That's just one issue that I have, but also my wife, also my daughter. She goes to West Georgia, right? I also have another son and I have another daughter. They walk right up Preston Boulevard to walk my dog, just to go walk, right? Because we have a sidewalk on both sides. I cannot possibly see my kids walking up that road anymore because there's now trucks driving in and out of that location. To me, that's also a hazard. But again, I just want to, at least convey to you all here today, I purchased that home because of what's in back of me. I'm a professional, and there are a ton of professionals that live in my subdivision. I can probably tell you right now, every single one of my neighbors within 8 houses of me, they are in a professional industry. They're not truckers. I did not build my house to be around a ton of truckers. Now, they have their career, I have my career, but that's not why I built that home there. I built that home there to give a better life for my kids, not to be around trucks on all 3 sides of my home or that subdivision. Thank you for your time.
Anybody else wish to speak against it? Yes, ma'am. Come up, state your name, address for the record.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and honorable council members. My name is Joan Washington, and I live at 7627 Forest Glen Way, Lithia Springs. And my neighbor, next door neighbor, just spoke, so I'm not going to go rehash what has already been said. I work for Fulton County, and the issue of Fulton Industrial Boulevard, I don't want to see that replicated here in my neighborhood. When the offer, the gentleman stated they had 2 acres to give to build the police department, then that leads me to believe that you're going to need that police department to monitor the traffic and the elements that follow that kind of industry. Right now, FIB is dealing with elements that prohibit the growth of families. The other piece is that residential and industrial does not mix well together. I just employ and ask you to not approve this type of industry in our neighborhood. Thank you and have a good holiday.
Anybody else wish to speak against it? Yes, state your name, address for the record, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Tony Favors, and my address is 1543 Fenmore Street in the Sweetwater subdivision. I am in opposition of this annexation. I moved, sorry I'm out of breath because I just ran here, but I moved to Lithia Springs in 1984, and I have seen a lot of progression during this time. And I've also been a taxpayer during this time. And seeing this progression, I'm thinking that my tax dollars are a major part of that, which is part of the reason why I have chosen to stay here in Lithia Springs. Now, I moved into the Sweetwater subdivision because I saw that come up even after Camp Creek Parkway was built out. And I assumed that with buying my property in Lithia Springs, that there was going to continue to be development for residents of the area. Now, my children were raised out here, and I considered Lithia Springs to be a Christian community, and people cared for one another. And I have also seen where there was extracurricular activities for the children, and there were also activities for the adults. Now, my children are grown up, and I relocated still in the Lithia Springs area. I'm thinking that you're going to do something for our children who were raised here. So I don't understand why we're not thinking about having further development for our children who are now getting married and having children. Why can't there be further development for the children? Now, in addition, I sent emails to all of you. Whether or not you read them, I don't know. But I think that for you to try to now make Lithia Springs an industrial development is moving backwards. Why can't we look at our neighborhood, our community, as a live, work, and play community like so many other areas in Atlanta, suburban areas are doing? You can live here, you can play here, and you can work here. We need to have businesses along our I-20 corridor where we can go and shop. Why do we have to go to Hiram? Why do we have to go to East Point? Why do we have to go to Cobb County? You know, it just doesn't make sense for you all to just consider we no longer matter. And we are tax-paying residents. So I'm asking that you please take this into consideration and do something for the people who live here. There is enough industrial development out here already. And who's to say that it's going to be profitable for tax revenue when you already have residents who've been paying property taxes and city taxes for years? Thank you for your time, and I hope you have a nice holiday.
Anybody else wish to speak against this project? Yeah, being none, we'll take us into consideration and we'll vote on Monday. And that's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
First of all, and Mr. Mitchell, would you be the one that would address or answer any questions?
I'll do my best, and if I need to call on someone else, I'll do that.
One thing I would like to hear some comments on and hear you address, and almost without exception, all 6 of the individuals that spoke had certainly some concerns with the industrial development, but also and primarily with the truck traffic. Could you address the tractor trailer traffic? I believe you said it'd be a minimum 100 per day.
I believe what I stated, and I understand, the issues and understand the concern, of course. Our consultant estimated on average that this type of building with this type of user would have about 100 a day. It could be less, it could be more. I mentioned the ResMed that we have down the street that's in basically the same size space that only has 10, but that's not to say, again, that that's the low end, there could be more. The way we have addressed it, again, is making sure that there's plenty of parking here for trucks. And if a tenant or a customer has a requirement for more trucks, well, this building won't function for them, and they'll go find another building that has a great deal more. Traffic, I hear what everyone's saying. You know, there's not a lot I can do about it other than assure you we've designed this the best way we can to alleviate as much as we can. We have an entrance on Blair's Bridge and also one here on Preston Boulevard. So you would think that part of these trucks and autos would come in and off this entrance, and part would come off that entrance. A couple of the other concerns, the closest apartment to our building, so the apartments are right here. The closest apartment to this building is about a football field and a half away. The closest house is about 4.5 or 5 football fields away from the entrance. Still, they have to come by it. I understand that, but it is there. Also, you know, the traffic. I mean, again, I would just encourage y'all and the residents maybe to ride down and look at the buildings we have and just, you know, put an eyeball on the truck traffic and just see what you really think, to make sure your fears hopefully are not as much as y'all and they believe. You know, most of these guys are like everybody else, the truck drivers and the auto parking. They're coming to work in the morning. They're on their way to the building. They're not leaving the building. When all the neighbors are leaving to go to their jobs or to school, these guys would be coming in. The same thing happens at night. They're all leaving when folks are coming back. I mean, you know, that's sort of the natural way of things.
Certainly, it's a very sensitive issue, as we all know in the room, both for the developer, the landowner, the residents that would be affected, but also the city that would be providing services and so forth. Areas develop, and the question is, how do they develop? And certainly it's up to this body to weigh in on that and work with the community as well as the individuals and people that want to develop. One thing that Mr. Robinson, I believe, mentioned was the increase in the amount of traffic and the amount of time and the congestion, and then also Miss Rwanda, prior to him, mentioned the effects on the intersection. And these are all things that certainly this city needs to look at, consider. Certainly, I've looked at some of the buildings that IDI builds, certainly probably on the top end compared to some what I call shade and shelter buildings. So certainly on the top end of that. But certainly hear and understand the concerns of the residents. And again, now's the time that to have the discussion, certainly listen to the community, the residents, certainly council to have any questions and discussion, and then certainly give you, the developer, an opportunity to talk about that. But so you're saying, or you thought, what's the maximum number of trucks that would be out of that facility?
Well, the maximum number of, you know, I can't answer it. I mean, you could have trucks coming in and leaving during the day. The traffic consultant said on average, this type of building with the typical customer that occupies this building, on average you'd have 100 that come in and out during the day. I can't guarantee it. I don't know that it's going to be lower than that or a little bit higher than that. The site itself is set up right now to accommodate just over 200. They will never all be there at once, but if 200 showed up, there's parking at the building and at the site for those.
So your consultant's saying an average of 100, right, but there could be maximum for the facility itself 200.
That's correct. If they all decide to come and park at that time. I mean, typically, if you look at this type of building, just like our others, we'll probably end up with maybe one, probably two customers at the building. These will be more of a standard distribution type operation, like if you've seen our buildings down the street, like those buildings. This building is not large enough nor set up to be what everybody fears, and I don't want to use names, but the big retailers that do a lot of internet sales out of their buildings. Those have a great number of cars or trucks coming in and out. That's not what's going to go here because it's not designed for them. They need at least double the amount of truck area because they just have a much greater volume.
Okay. Council, at this time?
Yeah, you made a comment that if it wasn't a trucking company or a warehousing company, it could be an office complex that could have been there. And you're saying that that office complex could equal, several hundreds of cars. So that's not going to alleviate the traffic problem that I'm hearing from some of the
truthfully, if the seller was able to find an office developer, an office user to buy that land, they would be able to justify paying more than we do. What we did was just take the current zoning. So if that office user did show up, come out here, with the current zoning in the low density office, if you built those buildings and put the required amount of parking, you would need to provide about 1,100 parking spaces.
So
that's under the current zoning.
That's under your current zoning.
So the traffic problem would be horrendous then with that type of environment versus we're talking about 100 trucks and
just under 300 cars are predicted.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell, you had made a statement of the distance between or away from this property to the nearest apartment or to the nearest resident. I must tell you, I saw some disagreement behind you in the audience. So clarify that for us. Distance from your entrance or distance from the property?
What I did was go to Google Earth and just run the line and get the footage. And let me get my notes.
Clarify, if you would, is this distance from the property corner or from the entrance to your facility that you plan?
Okay, what I measured was from the Preston Landing entrance, from the building entrance. So that I misstated that. It's from this entrance right here.
Okay.
From that entrance right there to the closest apartment was approximately, I could be off a few feet, but it's approximately 145 yards.
Okay, that's the distance from the entrance, not the distance from the property, or building. Okay. Okay. Okay.
And from that entrance right there to, no, let me back up. I measured from the edge of the building to the closest apartment, so that is what I did. I measured from right here to the closest apartment, that was 145 yards. I measured Preston Landing entrance to the building entrance. So I went up to the first Preston entrance to this building entrance right here, and that was just a little bit over 600 yards.
And did you make mention to the nearest resident?
Yes. Well, they might be a little farther, but just to where, if you drive up Preston Boulevard, you get up and the apartments are right there on the right, and then you get to right when you enter the subdivision. So the closest spot is what I measured to.
So then if you would, restate for us the distance to the nearest residence in Sweetwater from your property, not from your entrance, but from your property. Do you have that information? Okay.
All I've got here, let me just make sure, because I'm sure everybody will check me out. What I measured, my notes here say, as the crow flies, so just straight, I didn't wind around. As the crow flies from the that road right there, that entrance right there. And that was the 500 yards.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this could help. I mean, you could, I think this is in your package also. It may not have come out this well. But measure from right there, then you can see the apartments here and then the residence, just beyond that. By the way, all the blue is the currently zoned light industrial. This other color is the residential, and you can see the whole area, how they're coexisting.
Thank you.
That's all I have at this time, Chairman, unless council has other questions.
I don't have anything.
Just a general comment, not to take sides, but I might, we talk about 100 trucks. That pretty much equals 300 cars. Because a truck, you see a truck on the road, that's, if you measure the space, it takes up more than a car does. So that's, I think that would, they probably got some legitimate concerns with the traffic with the trucks.
Council have any other comments? And we've got all the comments from the audience. Okay, bring it up. We'll be back on Monday and vote on it. And that's all we have, Mr. Mayor.
That's all you got?
Yes.
All right.
That's amazing.
All right, thank you for that report, Councilman Pope. Next item on the agenda is Parks and Recreation Committee. I ask Chair of that committee, Mayor Pro Tem Yaki, if you'll bring your committee forward this time, please.
Yes, I have one item. Authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Brown's Pool.
Let's wait 1 second, give the chamber time to clear. Okay, Mayor Pro Tem, go ahead, please.
Yes, authorize the mayor to sign a contract with Brown's Pool Incorporated for Phase 2 renovation of the pool at Jesse Davis Park. We had a presentation in our committee meeting a little while ago, and are there any other questions that need to come before this council? Okay. If not, then I would like to go ahead and put this on the consent agenda for Monday.
Council's pleasure. Okay, appears to be in order.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
All right, next item on the agenda is Finance Committee. I ask Chair of that committee, Councilman Adams, if you bring your committee forward this time, please, sir.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have two items under finance tonight. The first is to authorize the mayor to sign a 3-year lease with Riley's Early Learning Academy Incorporated for city-owned property at 6625 Brown Street for a monthly rental amount of $1,000, with the tenant to pay utility costs and with the tenant to release any claims against the for previously paid utilities or rent for the property.
I believe you requested more information on Monday.
Yes,
and
we
we're prepared
did.
to do that in the 5 o'clock committee meetings on Monday, and we'll have that information for you.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. We have had discussion as everyone was involved in that, but we were missing some items that had been requested to be included, and we will take that up further on Monday. Next item, adopt a resolution pertaining to the city's fund balance at the midpoint of fiscal year 2015-16 and near the end of calendar year 2015. Ms. Hampton, any comment or anyone else have any other comment concerning that item, which we will discuss again?
I do not. Finance Director Karen Callan has presented you with the resolution that includes the numbers that we discussed. It's as of this December 2015, where we're currently standing in our financial history as we approach the 2016 calendar year.
The council has seen that resolution there on our at our 5 o'clock meeting. Is there any reason why we could not place this on the consent agenda?
I would prefer not. As she said, Ms. Callan's going to present some information on that, so.
She already did.
I mentioned she
Yes.
presented the information to you at 5 o'clock unless you would like more information.
Let me ask this, since some of us did not have the attachment and we're having some computer glitches, let's have more discussion on that on Monday prior to a vote, please.
Yes, sir.
I'll retract my request. Thank you. That's all that we have, Mr. Mayor.
And that would,
Okay.
that will help the audience, okay, at that meeting to know
Yes.
what we're presenting.
Yes.
Exactly.
Good
That
idea.
was the reason for not putting it on the consent agenda.
Thank you. That's all that I have in
All right,
finance.
very good. Thank you for that report, Councilman Adams. Next item on the agenda is Information Technology Committee. I'll ask the chairman of that committee, Mayor Pro Tem Yaki, do you have any business to bring forward?
No items tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for that report. Next item on the agenda is Maintenance and Sanitation Committee. I'll ask Chair of that committee, Councilman Miller, if you bring your committee forward this time, please, sir.
Thank you. We have one item tonight, and that is item A, authorize the mayor to accept a proposal from Waste Quip for the purchase of a truckload quantity 864 64-gallon recycle bins for our residential customers in the total amount of $39,974.46. I believe Mr. Roberts, so you want to address that?
Yes, and this is just, and we'll have some discussion about it on Monday at 5, and you may see your attachments there now, but this is just to restock on our recycle bins at our facility at Club Drive.
This comes from the sanitation fund also, correct?
It comes from the sanitation fund, and one reason that you don't see comp quotes on it is we have tried to stay with a same type and style container when we started the program a few years ago. And for those of you who've heard me say it before, these are nestable containers. They can be fully assembled and stacked, where most containers, almost all containers other than this particular brand, they have to stay unassembled to keep them in a stack. So that means we would have to assemble all of them, thus taking up what little room we have. And so these really do allow us, on a serious note, allow us to have a number of them. For example, these 800 can take up a small area that 250 would take up if we had to use another brand. These can be fully assembled and stacked, and they'll take up a much smaller space, and that's the one reason we've stayed with this brand.
On another subject, when's the new truck coming?
The new truck got here last Friday,
Okay.
and we started using it, so we'll announce it later.
Okay.
But you know, it's one of those kind of things. You want to make sure your bugs in your operations, and so it's went off without a hitch. That for those that are listening or watching, that's an automated truck, and so as we get that truck in more of a routine, we will designate some areas of the city to make more communication with residents. This truck will operate in particular areas of the city where it's more conducive for an automated truck. For example, here in the in-town area, the automated truck would not be as valuable as, let's say, Chapel Hills or even Arbor Station. The subdivision areas, it can move with a much greater speed. The automated truck means that the driver is the only employee needed for the truck, rather than having to have 1 and 2 helpers on the back, as most of you know, and you've heard us talk about it before. From a work comp point of view, the rear load truck is dangerous. In fact, it's in the news right now, and you've probably heard it in the last few days. There was an employee in an exact same operation that was involved in an accident and has been disfigured for life. Lucky to have survived it. It is a common accident. We pay more on the work comp insurance for the sanitation worker on the ground than we do our police officers, because they're more likely to get hit by a car. And we did have one employee hit by a car this year. So there's extreme value, as I've talked to my committee chair, Mr. Miller, and Ms. Hampton and Mayor and some of you individually. This is the way we need to go. Staying in the garbage business, the automated truck is the way to go. But we will always have a need for rear load trucks for some of our older areas and some of the areas that have back alley streets, such as part of the tributary. that area would not be a part of the program because of the streets. This is a large truck. It holds about twice as much garbage as the regular truck, so fewer trips to the landfill. It's a very time-consuming truck. Trust me, I have seen it and couldn't believe it with my own eyes.
Thank you very much for that update.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on agenda issues? All right. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Mayor, that's all we have tonight.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Councilman Miller. Next item on the agenda is Transportation Committee. I ask Chair of that committee, Councilperson Danley, if you'll bring your committee forward this time, please, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just one item, adopt an ordinance enacting a new Article 7 of City Code Charter 2, codifying the city's procurement policy for hiring architects and engineers for federally funded transportation programs. That's right.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Michelle Wright, Planning Director, City of Douglasville. The Georgia Department of Transportation, in doing our recertification to work on transportation projects, which we do approximately every 3 years, 2 to 3 years, has requested that we adopt a procurement policy for hiring architects and engineers. And this is for hiring architects and engineers only. And for federally funded transportation projects, this would not pertain to such as Greg's department if he was to buy a trash truck. Anyways, we worked on this with the under the Brooks Act, the federal act, and to get this in place, we're asking that you adopt it as an ordinance.
Ms. Wright, how will this impact the current project that's going on, federally funded, with the engineers that are currently working, architects? We utilize this as it stands, and this is a process that we actually have been utilizing for several years when we do hire engineers and architects and consultants for projects. So it would not affect any of our projects now. I think they just want it more codified or in writing. Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for our mayor and council? Any from our audience? Okay, if not, I'd like to add this to the consent agenda, if it's okay with mayor and council.
Council's pleasure. Appears to be in order.
Thank you. No other items under transportation. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Councilperson Danley. Next item on the agenda is Personnel Organization Committee. I ask Chair of that committee, Councilman LaGuerre. Do you have any business to bring forward this time, please? Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is Ordinances Intergovernmental Committee. And in the absence of the chairman, Councilman Davis, I'll ask the vice chair, Councilman Adams. Do you have any business to bring forward?
No business tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for that report, Councilman Adams. Next item on the agenda is Education Training Committee, and I'll ask Chair of that committee, Councilperson Danley. Do you have any business to bring forward this time?
No business tonight, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is other business. Ms. Hampton, you aware of any other business to come forward this time?
No, sir.
Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is City Attorney. Mr. Dodson, do you have any business to bring forward?
No business, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you for that report. Next item on the agenda is Chief Assistant City Attorney. Ms. Littlefield, do you have any business to bring forward this time?
No business, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is City Manager. Ms. Hampton, you have any business to bring forward this time?
First time to see that.
I do have a few items.
Oh.
Some things never change.
Just to let you know, so you can mark on your calendars, I did include it in the email that I sent to you on Friday, that Monday, December 21st at 10 a.m., our police chief will be promoting several individuals in the police department. That's a good time, great accolades for those individuals. So if you guys can make that and put that on your schedule, it will be at the Public Safety Building at Monday at 10 a.m. Monday at 10 a.m. for City Hall and city employees will be fairly busy. We will eat a lot of food, and then we will start wellness in January. But we start off with our annual ornament exchange at 7:30 a.m., so we will have a delayed opening for City Hall at 9 o'clock for those who are looking for City Hall services so that employees can participate in that annual event. Some of us will be attending the promotion ceremony at 10, And then we will follow that up with a citywide potluck. So that's for all city employees in the former conference center across the street. That starts at noon. And then that evening, I think we have some other things going on as well for individuals on Monday, the 21st. So it'll be a busy day, a lot of food. So if you can come and join us, that will be great. Also to remind you that City Hall will be closed on the 24th and the 25th in honor of the Christmas holiday. Also to let you know that Monday, the 21st, is our last council meeting of the calendar year. So hopefully all of you will be able to be there. I'm also reminding, if you can please check your emails for those who will be continuing with us into the new calendar year on Friday. So don't abandon me, because between then and the first meeting of the calendar year, I will be sending you a lot of information, because that first week of January will be very busy. So please make certain to check your Friday emails. For those of you who have not heard, former city manager Bill Osborne will be effective on Monday the 21st, the city administrator for Temple, Georgia. So if you see him or if you hear him, he's very excited about going into his new role, but he starts in Temple, Georgia on Monday. And I think that's it. So hopefully I'll see you guys definitely on Monday, and look forward to have a good weekend.
Okay, that's all you have at this time?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Hampton, for that report. Next item on the agenda is comments from citizens and delegates. We have any citizens like to come forward with comments at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Ms. Hampton, do you have any staff reports at this time?
Not tonight.
Very good. No other business to come before this body. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.